Hello, guys. Welcome to my video lecture series number one in this May month series. And my name is Anand Kumar, and I'm currently working as an assistant professor in the Department of Information Technology in SNS College of Technology, Coimbatore. And in this video lecture series number one, we'll just start with something called as file systems. So, regarding file systems, it is widely used in operating systems in the starting part. And to be noted with the file systems, we have something called as 5 to 6 areas to focus with. One is file concept, and another one is how we access the methods through the file concepts. And next is the storage system, that is what we call as directory structure. And next is the mounting system. Mounting means in the terms of just hanging up one upon another, just using the term called as file system mounting. And next is something we called as file sharing, and the file sharing system we can use it with the operating systems exclusive usage. And next is of course the file system security concept, that is what we call it as protection. So let us dive into the terms. So coming to the introduction part, so the operating system defines a local storage unit, that is what we call it as a file. So what you understand from the term called as file means it's an operating system concept that makes use of the logical storage device. And of course, how did the files are getting stored or files are being stored? So coming to the aspect, that is the files are stored in disk blocks in the disk. So next is mapping, and the mapping of files is done by mapping up of files onto the disk physical devices, and it is done by the operating system itself through its built-in function. So of course, and here I'd like to make a point, something called as volatile and non-volatile. It is not like an index volatility, but that is what we call as volatility and non-volatility. Volatile means if there is current means, or if there is power means it will be storing, and if it is non-volatile means if the power goes off, the data which have been stored in that memory goes off. So coming to the physical devices and coming to this exclusive file systems, this physical devices are certainly non-volatile. So it does mean that if the power is lost, the data will be stored here and data won't be getting lost. So the information is stored on different storage media, and we have major two things. One is what you call as primary storage device and the secondary storage device. And here the secondary storage device or different storage media refers to something called as hard disks, pen drives, etc. So what we call as disk block, let us get into the deeper introduction. In a disk, the data are stored in small units, that is what we call as disk blocks. So coming to the disk blocks, it is said as smallest unit in which OS stores. So that is, the disk is logically divided into disk blocks in which the data are stored. So coming to the uh, next, in terms of it is enough for the users to understand information in terms of files, and we can also discuss the different types of access method in this video lecture series. So a file, coming deeper into the file section, a file is a named collection of related information that is recorded on a storage, secondary storage. As I told you in the previous slide itself, there is something called as primary storage and secondary storage, and most probably a file is stored in this secondary storage. So next is the file is the smallest allotment on secondary storage. This is the exact meaning that I want to convey to you. That is, the file is said to be the smallest allotment that is in the block on the secondary storage device. And of course, a file may represent many programs or data or any sensitive information, and that might be considered loss as a loss. So that is, a file may be a program, a file, or data, as I told you. The program files can also be source files, object programs, and so on. So what do you mean with the term called source programs? Source programs means in the sense it is an essential part of a program without which it can't be executed. So the data files can have numeric data, alphabet data, alphanumeric data, and binary data, and of course so on. Binary data means in the terms of zeros and ones. Alphanumeric means in the it's a combination of alphabets and the numerics. That is what we call as A9, B12, etc. And it has, I mean, the file has a defined structure that depends on something called as types of the file. For example, a text file is a sequence of characters. Of course, we know that text file, it does mean that it does have some alphabetical sequences. So it is said as the text file as a sequence of characters organized into lines. So a source of file has source program, and of course it can be and many declarations can be followed by executable statements. And to be noted here, look at it, look at the fifth point. An executable file has a series of code sections that the loader can bring into the memory and execute. This is the most probable use of file, that is, it has to be brought to the memory space while getting executed. It doesn't it or it shouldn't be retained in another place so that it can't be get through. So next is, and coming back to this important section of file system, the file system is said to be a collection of files where a number of files are kept in secondary memory. As I told you, there are two kinds of memory. One is primary storage device and the second is storage device, and the primary memory and the secondary memory. So next is, for example, similar types of files can be grouped, and of course it can be given a similar terms of time names. That is what we call as directory. Directory refers to a combination of many collections of files, and of course many directories can be grouped under another directory and so on, and of course it can be mounted also. So this entire directory structure, organization, and some information providing, etc., gives or forms the entire file system. So coming back to the important point, to physically or logically separate large collections of directories, the partitions are maintained. So this is the important part of a file system, that is a partition. That means that differs from another, or it is separated from another. So as I told you, each partition can of course have a different file system. So in the next class, we'll just see with each file has a number of attributes indicating some information of the file, and I'll just give you some glimpse of what we are going to see in the next class. That is, uh, we are going to see something about the file attributes. What are the file attributes? It does have, or it does indicate some information of the file, such as name, types, location, size, its behavior, its production bits, the according behavior to the respective of time, date, etc. So remaining we'll see it in the next class, and thank you for joining me. Thank you.